Hey, how's it going everyone? Entropy here today with another video. Today we're going to be doing Vanguard Zero starters tier list. And before I begin, um, I just want to say thank you all for your support. It has been 2.5 months since I started making videos on this channel. We're at 140 subscribers today, and that's pretty amazing. Thank you all. If you are watching this video, do consider subscribing so you can keep up with my content, and do check out my previous content because I am quite proud of them too. But I guess without further ado, let's begin. For those who have seen my previous tier list video, these are just pictures and they don't have text with them. It's gonna take up too much space. So I did put up the list for all the for the Vanguard Zero meta database, and all you have to do is filter for grid zero. And generally speaking, these will be starting Vanguards. Some don't exist, and then I won't talk about them. But generally, even if they do, they're 6K vanillas, so they're a VP farming tier. So how this is going to work is I'm listing them from S to D, S being universally insane, you can't go wrong with them, and the D being VP farming, unless you're trolling or farming for VP or clan levels, then I would not suggest you use them. And we're going to start with, it's going to be a really, really long video. So some of them I won't explain too much, but if you're interested, do comment down below and I'll try to explain my opinion. But I guess without further ado, let's begin. So Dragon Egg is viable. It does synergize with what the rest of the clan wants. It's on retire Countermouse 1, return it to your hand. Unfortunately, being a 4K grade 0 booster doesn't really help. You can always, generally speaking, the only utility it has is to be retire fodder, and even then, the low attack doesn't really synergize with the cards. And you have other options on Tachikaze. You have a lot of cards that do Countermouse want to do something else, call out another unit, which is better than the Dragon Egg. So viable, but not the best choice. Next is Raptor Soldier. Raptor Soldier is viable. Raptor Soldier is part of the ride chain. The check top 7 ride chain, and you do want to get to your Raptor Colonel, the boss grade 3. While it is still underwhelming, it is the most consistent way for the Tachikaze deck to work. So definitely something that is viable. Next is the Baby Taro. Grade 3 Searcher, not that great, especially since Tachikaze doesn't have a lot of great utility grade 3s, not a lot of good, rear support or, cards that go back to the deck that would entice you to use the grade 3 Searcher. But, it does help you from getting grade stuck, but just because of how the zero system works, the chance of getting grade stuck is actually lower. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, and I'd rather play something that has more utility, like a Ride Chain or Dragon Egg that still doesn't deter you that much. Give you a little bit of bonus, I suppose. And then next is the Mecha Trainer. Mecha Trainer is just universally insane. Enough said. You can search for any grade 1. From your deck, grade 1 or less, you don't have grade 0s in your deck, in Spike Brothers, so that's not a concern. But with, a card like Mecha Trainer, you can tutor for PG primarily, and then you can also consider, do I play the old PG or new PG? And with Mecha Trainer as a starter, you can choose to play 1 old PG, 3 new PGs, or, a combination of both, so that you can be more flexible with your defensive approach. If I don't have an LB4 unit in my hand, if I don't have the Break Ride, do I still want that early game damage? Or maybe because I've General Siegfried, I don't have the Break Ride or Dudley Emperor, maybe I'll search for the old PG, and then counteract, decks like Eradicators that will deal like 4 or 5 damage in a turn for no reason, that you won't be able to proc a PG for because you're using the new one. But that's a discussion for another day. But Mecha Trainer just gives you that extra flexibility offensively and defensively that I think is just too valuable to put below A. Psychic Mill, grade 3 Searcher, pretty bad, and it's better than the Tachikaze grade 3 Searcher because first of all, you have cards like Jelly Bean, you have cards like Juggernaut Maximum that return to the deck, so your grade 3s don't clog up your hand that much. They have a lot of utility as a rearguard, like Juggernaut Maximum, so definitely useful. And with low number of ride targets, especially now in the global meta, where we only have Dudley Emperor as our main ride target, you can still consider playing the Grade 3 Searcher to search for that one ride target you want, because it is 4 out of 13. But beyond that, Mecha Trainer just does so much more than, having a consistent, ride. You can still win games without, the ideal Grade 3 ride. And Psychic Meld does fall off, later on, because you don't only want to get your Dudley Emperors, you also want your break rides, and you get more and more ride targets. But for Psychic Meld, the Grade 3 Searcher and Spec Brothers, it is still pretty high utility, and I do have to go through these much more quicker, or else it's going to be like an hour or so. So yeah. Next is, Thermidor, Rate of Terror Thermidor. It boosts, the rearguard, gets +3 going back to the bottom of the deck. Pretty bad. A lot of your units do that bouncing already, and then you don't really need to make up space for it. So, again, Mecha Trainer. Darkbringer is basically the Skydiver. I'd say it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Even Skydiver doesn't really see much play now, and you don't really need it to do your wombo combos. You have a lot of cards to that help, and it's grade 0 5k that needs to hit. I don't know. You need to invest a booster on it, and then I don't really see it being that useful. Full bow, really good. Totally biased. No, not really. It's just such a great ride chain. Javelin gets you the grade 2 for free, and then when you ride the grade 3, which Javelin searches for, you get the full bow superior call, extra peanut butter for PBD to nom on, to get an extra crit and all that. And if not, then PBO can also use it to trade 1 for 1. 5k booster does help you hit numbers, and definitely so much synergy with the deck and the consistency that it needs. Creeping Dark Goat, VP farming tier. If you're playing this right now, you can't argue, like, if you don't like the PBD and the Blaster Dark and stuff, then sure. But there's just so much value with full bow that you won't really consider Creeping Dark Goat. And if you are going to play PBO and PBD anyways, might as well play the ride chain, right? Like, I don't know how I feel about people who play Creeping Dark Goat, but this is just opinion. Barkle is a VP farming tier. You're thinning your deck of triggers to call out 4Ks or 5Ks. The superior ride into Blaster Blade isn't even that impactful. You don't really use the soul much in Royal Paladins anyways. So yeah, pretty bad. Stardust Trumpeter, VP farming tier, king of VP farming. But it's a vanilla, nothing more, nothing less. Claudia, Soul Charge +3, trash. Libergal, viable because, again, similar to Spike Brothers, it has a lot of utility grade 3s. Ganslot, you can search for a retire, which is better than searching for like a grade 2 Dudley or grade 1 Dudley, in my opinion. It is also useful. It's the only consistent option for MLB nowadays, to search for MLB, because your other starters don't really help with that. And yeah, I mean, it's still not the best choice, but it's the best one that Royal Paladin has at the moment. So can't complain. Bengal Brave, VP farming tier. The old one is definitely universally insane. Helps make bad players damage deny too often, and then just so consistent if it works. But now it's Caramelized 2, and it only searches for grade 3s. Thinning your deck from triggers, and then Caramelized 2 is such a steep cost that it doesn't really proc before you get to grade 3. Definitely not a very good card, and if you're still using it as a vanilla 5k booster, I guess that still works, but you have other better choices. Brugal is pretty bad, but if you're playing Garbor, which isn't really relevant anymore, Counterblast 3 to search for an intercept is too expensive, but it's still definitely an option. I don't know what to say. It's just bad. Drangle is a VP farming tier as well. Consistency is good, but I don't even know if you want to play Galahad and stuff right now. It's overcosted. It doesn't do too much. Basically every single clan has a way to get crit pressure, or just so much more multi-attacking, or all that offensive capability that Galahad doesn't really do much. And again, the soul doesn't really help out with the clan other than Soul Saver, which is not relevant at all. So yeah, not very important. Next is Pale Moon, Hades, Ringmaster, pretty bad. Actually no, VP farming right now. At first it's pretty bad. It's still a 5k booster. You can soul charge whenever you want. But as Pale Moon has more selective soul charging, and Pale Moon isn't about just the number of souls. It's about which cards you have. Hades Ringmaster doesn't really help with that winning image. And you have just so many other better options. Innocent Magician, VP farming tier. While yes, Pale Moon does have some grade 3s that have really good utility in the rear circle, like Alice, Nightmare Doll Alice. The fact that none of the grade 3s can go back to the deck really deters a player to use this kind of starter. And again, you have such great cards like Girl Who Crossed the Gap, really good. Counterblast 1, move into Soul, call anything out. And you can use this card multiple times because Lukie calls out a grade 0. And this is, generally speaking, the only grade 0 you will have in a game. Great card, pull out a purple trapezes and you can swap for other stuff again. Just overall helps you build a more consistent board and fixes it whenever you need to. Smiling Presenter, also really good. Check top 10, put anything into your soul. Selective soul charging is great, especially in a clan like Pale Moon that values quality over quantity. If you are playing Dreaming Fortress, then extra Dreaming Fortress means extra intercept, which is really important. If you're playing Crimson Beast Tamer, which I do not agree with, then you can get your Crimson Beast Tamer faster into the soul, and then your turquoise and your crimsons all get +3 and all that. So you hit your numbers more consistently. So definitely useful, especially since it's counterblast less. It's free of charge by putting it into soul. Unlike Girl Who Crossed the Gap, it's definitely an option, and very, very good. Next is Lozenji Magus, viable. Putting a heal trigger back to the deck is always going to be great. Putting a trigger back to the deck is great enough. It's a heal trigger. You get to draw a card, and with OTT, unless you're playing, it's just like this card is just so flexible in any archetype. You can consider playing it. It also is an alt art, which is pretty nice. And yeah, did I say draw a card? Sister Claire, check top 3, pretty bad. Enough said. Put into soul +3, bad. God Hawk Ichibiyoshi, viable to very good. I'm not putting it really good because it's not flexible. You have to play the Tsukuyomi Right Chain, but at the same time, the Tsukuyomi Right Chain is just so good that it honestly just deserves to be near the top. But yeah, like checking top 5, stacking your deck is just does God's work. Little Witch Lulu, also very viable. The only bad thing is that it only comes out from the soul when you ride grade 3. So then you're actually losing the utility of a booster for turn 1 and turn 2. So that's something that you have to consider. I see a lot of people playing it. Even if it's not a witch deck, soulless deck. And I do agree. Being a 5k booster, helping you draw extra cards, it's still very good. And still splashable in any deck. So yeah. Battle Sister Waffles. If you're playing Battle Sisters, then it's pretty good. Counterblast 1, put this into the soul, check top 3, and call 1, and that unit gets +2. Being a Battle Sister itself, it does help you reach the the synergies like Fromage, needing to hit the 4 Battle Sister rearguards to get +4, something like that. And you can always search for an intercept or a booster that you might need. I'm not very familiar with Battle Sister, so I can't really comment on that, but definitely viable choice. Battle Riser, viable. Again, flexible like Lozenji Magus. It's not a heal trigger, so it does lose out on that. But as a Riser, it does work really well with the Perfect Riser and all that synergy. You can even search it out from Perfect Riser skill, and you get an extra draw and put a trigger back to the deck, so it's definitely pretty good. Morio, Mirayo, sorry, Future Robot, pretty bad, viable. You know, as we move into future Nova support, it's a very grade 3 dependent, boss unit dependent, break ride unit dependent, and put in pretty bad. But again, like, you have a lot of other great options that you can play with. Consistency is important, but again, searching out for a grade 3 from your deck with, you know, no way of putting them back into the deck later on, you know, unlike Spikes or Royal Paladins, definitely does deter it. But, you know, with Novas needing that grade 3 buff so you know, so valuing it so high, definitely not VP farming tier, but still pretty bad. Lionel Heat, bad. Blau Junga, pretty bad. Better than Morio or Mirayo. You know, again, like, it's a great ride chain. It's the same as you know, Full Bao, except, you know, the 5k booster doesn't have as much utility. And, you know, the units that the ride chain provides are quite irrelevant at the moment. Yes, there are some, you know, like, gimmicky break ride Blau Kluger deck, which, you know, if you're interested, go check out Different Fights videos. But if you know, do watch him, it's a really inconsistent deck, not very good, and even he won't use this Blau Junger ride chain. You'd rather use Mirayo because you do want to ride the break ride first. So, you know, not very good, but, you know, it's consistent, I guess. White Tiger, VP farming tier, pretty bad tier, pretty bad. Doesn't really do much. You know, it needs the unit that this card boosted to hit a Vanguard, which significantly deters it. Counter Blast 1 is a steep cost, and your units generally do stand other rearguards too, so pretty bad. Death Army Pawn, trash. If you're playing Death Army, you know, I applaud you for trying something new, but, you know, it's just, I think we're all in agreement that it's a pretty bad deck at this point. Riot Horn, viable, and really good. You know, yes, the booster doesn't really impact the game that much, but, you know, having a rearguard that just automatically stands if you stand another rearguard means that your front row basically gets +5, and with so many multi-attacking options into the future, you know, like, you know, Ethics Buster Extreme or Ethics Buster, you know, the break ride, definitely useful to get an extra +5k in a front row rearguard to hit numbers. Battle Arm Leprechaun. At the end of battle, this unit boosted. A unit with Limit Break put into your soul, draw a card. It's basically worse than the trigger ones. So, you know, just play Battle Riser, I guess. Seed Squire. Shield Seed Squire is VP farming tier. Honestly, even with Neo Nexus right now, you won't see a lot of players using the Blade Seed Squire, the grade 1. Essentially because the grade 3 searches for the grade 2 and the grade 2 searches for the grade 3, and you don't really want the grade 2 to search the grade 3. The grade 1 doesn't really do much, and with, you know, when you're playing Musketeers or Arborist Dragon, you know, Sephiroth Dragon, sorry, Sephiroth, you know, they have their respective, you know, sub-archetypes. You know, Musketeers want the Musketeer name, and then, you know, the Dragon wants its own ride chain and stuff that you don't really have space for the grade 1 anyways, so and because you don't have space for the grade 1, you don't play it. P-Knight's pretty bad. P-Knight's actually okay. P-Knight, I really like P-Knight. P-Knight used to be a 6k vanilla in the original game, but now its skill is, you know, put this into the soul, put 2 cards from the drop zone to the bottom of the deck, and, you know, with Neo Nectar return so much, it is definitely a good option. And then you can also put triggers back that no other Neo Nectar's card can do as of right now. Definitely a really good card, but unfortunately, sub-archetypes is a thing, and P9 doesn't have a place at the moment. Maybe in the future when there's more, you know, clan support, not sub-archetype support like Musketeers or Dragon. But, you know, one day P9 will rise. Ratoon, Arborist Dragon, Ratoon. Is it that bad? Is it that bad? The ride chain's pretty neat. I mean, again, you know, check top 7, blah blah blah. It even got a buff, you know, went from 4k to 5k. Got to call it out if you missed it. But it doesn't do enough compared to the other types of the same ride chain. So, you know, definitely not the best. But, you know, if you're playing the dragon, then you have to play this. Broccolini Musketeer Kira. Now, Kira, before I play tested Musketeers, and the whole reason was because if you haven't seen the pack opening video, do check that out. It's pretty insane. So I did have some fun with it. Gina does help you search for the Cecilia that you really need to ride. Like, there's no other optimal ride target. Like, if you ride anything else, you basically lose. And if you do have the Cecilia in your hand, you can use this unit to trade for another Musketeer unit and filter through your deck. So it has multiple uses. Yes, I mean, and also Neonectar does have a grade 3 that goes back to the bottom of the deck. Goes back to the deck, not bottom of the deck, with Genie. So that's pretty good. Generally, you have three uses of this card in one. So definitely viable and important to use so far. Saishin, universally insane. We talked about this in the previous clan video, and Saishin is a really good card. I hope you guys don't. I mean, it's a good discussion, and I agree. Saishin is a really good card. So I mean, enough said. Shut your opponent down. Shut your opponent's strategy down. Like if they rely on cards like like Rat Horn or Groho across the gap, you just snipe it. They can't do anything about it, and then they cry. Next is the grade 3 searcher. Grade 3 searcher is pretty bad. And then Coco, Exorcist Mage Coco, pretty bad. Sealing something, 3k base, pretty bad. Deity Sealing Kid Soko, also so, pretty bad. Pretty trash. Exorcist Mage Dandan. Now bind this face up to add a card other than this card from your bind stone to your hand. Oh, and when your Dungarees plays, bind a card face up from the top of the deck. Viable. Definitely is the reason why Dungaree is tier 2 at top of tier 2, bottom of tier 1. Insane card. It gives you basically an extra hand as an option, and by itself it lets you swap to search for anything that you do need, and gives you an extra bind that lets you proc your Dungaree skills. Just straight up solid. Eradicator Strike Dagger Dragon. And this is the superior ride. It's like the easel one that lets you go into Dragonic Descendant. It's pretty bad because you generally want to go while Vowing Sword first to get the break ride, and then Eradicator Descendant, it's not your ideal ride target. You do want Gauntlet Buster, and then go for Dragonic Descendant late game to pull out your opponent's PGs and seal the game. But yeah, you have Saishin, and then you have Ambush Dragon Eradicator Linchu, which is basically Saishin but with the Eradicator name. And then there's Saishin, and then there's Eradicator Saishin. So play Eradicator Saishin eventually. And that's the same with a lot of the Narukami support, which is kind of disappointing. Dragonic Death Scythe does get its Eradicator version, same cost, different name, different art, and then you'd rather just play the one with the Eradicator name. So yeah. Wish Granting Jin, put this into soul, draw 1, discard 1. Enough said. The Jin of Thunderbreak, it's a limit break 4, put into soul, draw 1. Again, Saishin's here. You have Saishin. Flag of Regine Corpusant, you put into soul +3, trash. What else? Giraffa. Giraffa is, I'd say it's viable because it is the full battle right chain. You ride the grade 1, you get the grade 2, and then with the grade 1 you can search for the grade 3. The extra unit is important because Mega Colony doesn't generate a lot of card advantage, and the 5k booster definitely does help. Is it the best? Not really, but you have to work with what you have, right? Machining Worker Ant, when placed, stand one of your other machining rearguards. I guess if you're playing machining, I don't know how good machining is, so right now I'm going to put in VP farming tier. Generally speaking, you're probably going to be playing this guy, Giraffa, or Mega Colony Balor C. So yeah, play one of these instead, because they at least get to be a rearguard early on, and then have more utility early on than conditionally having utility if you do get one specific card that calls it out from the soul. But Mega Colony Balor C, when this unit boost hits a Vanguard, put into soul, paralyze one of your opponent's rearguards. What paralyze does is that it can't stand on the next turn, which is pretty good. You're sealing your opponent's booster so they can't hit numbers. But doesn't really help much with the winning image. I don't know. It does annoy your opponent. It does annoy your opponent. But I mean, first of all, Mega Colony doesn't have any crosser numbers, so the boosters, I don't know how valuable that is. Anyways, it does stop your opponent from hitting numbers, but but then again, like you have cards like Saishin to counteract with Battle of Sea, and like Saishin retires it directly. Battle of Sea paralyzes it. Yes, it's costless, but not very high utility, but still an option for you to consider. Tar has a right chain, so it's better than other +3s. And Aleph is a pretty janky card that you can consider playing. Gatling Claw Dragon also pretty bad, but also can be considered. Caramel's 1 point into soul, retire opposed grade 0 regard. So it's like an unconditional, it's less conditional Saishin, less power, but you don't have to boost and you don't have to hit. There is also a ride chain for it, which is nice, but you won't generally play it. But again, with a lot of these cards in the pretty bad section, you just have better alternatives. It's not that the card necessarily is bad itself, but you have better alternatives. For the VP farming tier, it's just bad. So this 6K, I'll put it with its buddy Stardust Trumpeter. Karo, S tier. Can I scroll up, please? S tier, universally insane. Mecha Trainer level. Red Pulse Draco Kid, pretty bad. And I'm putting it in pretty bad because while yes, Kagero doesn't have, actually no, since Kagero doesn't have a grade 3 that goes back to the deck, I said I guess it's VP farming. But because it does have cards that require Persona Blast, and a lot of break rides do have high utility that you do want to get into, definitely can be considered, and not as bad as other clans in my opinion. Amber Dragon Dawn, it's consistent, but the Raichi doesn't do much at all anymore. Eclipse Karamasu to retire 1, not Karamasu to retire 2. Definitely hurts it so much, and you might as well just play a Berserk Dragon instead of that grade 3. Flask Marmoset, we're finally at Great Nature. Karamasu 2 to give you a +4, retire. Leopold does that for free, so why are you playing this? Lox is a pretty good ride chain. Lox is not a bad card. And viable if you do like the Lox, but there are better options like Blackboard Parrot. Where? Oh man, it's getting too long. Viable. Put into soul. Choose one of your regards. When it gets retired, draw a card. You do have a lot of skills that proc the retire requirement, and drawing cards are also great. If you don't have anything you do want to retire, you can always use the Parrot as the retire unit. And yeah, 5K boosters aren't that bad. Acorn Master, Grade 3 Searcher, VP farming tier. Gardening Mole, when one of your regards is retired during your end phase, Caramel's 1 put this into the soul and put it into your head. Pretty bad. And the reason why is because a lot of cards, like especially if you're playing Leopold anyways, it does go back to the board. If you are playing like Chicken and stuff, they do call out an additional card from your deck. Deck thinning. So I guess there is some utility to utilize the Chicken, Cat, and all of that multiple times. But Blackboard Parrot, which is just more flexible and doesn't cost Caramelast, which you do need for your Polaris. So it's still you can still consider it, but not the most amazing. Guiding Zombie, VP farming tier. Night Spirit, pretty bad. Still has a right chain, so it still has its utility, giving your Vanguard or your Spirit exceed 11k or an extra 3k and all that. Captain Night Kid, similar to this one, but putting top 10 to the drop zone, is it better? Is it worse? By itself, I think it's better. Because Captain Night Mist and stuff does need the +3 to hit numbers, but at the same time the general card quality for Grand Blue just is much worse, so I don't see much utility for Grand Blue at the moment. So it's still I guess I'll put it in viable. And then Grade 3 Searcher, VP farming tier. Gold Paladins, Criff is viable. I say really good. You know, just the aggression to get into the easel. It's great. You know, easel does get extra power with each rearguard, so you can still hit numbers early game without investing too much. You know, definitely strong. Great researcher, trainish. And then the Spring Breeze Messenger. Careless one, put into soul. If the unit that this card boosted hits, check the top 3 cards and then call it up. Definitely viable. Really good. I think I'll put it together with here. Because you do search out cards like Bluster Blade Spirit, Bluster Dark Spirit. That does get you a proc retire. You search for Pelennor and then you get a Superior Ride plus 5/+1 crit. Could be super early game, and then, or it could be just a late game last minute push. Definitely really strong. And then, you know, it's just a +1, right? And then you have Dreaming Sage Koron. Koron is is viable. It's viable because, you know, yes, it's a Caramel's 1 check top 5 to search for an easel, and there are only grade 3 easels right now. But what it means is, like, you know, compared to this, it's higher base, 5k instead of 4k. And if you do search for, you know, another grade 3 that you don't want to ride, that is not an easel, you don't have to forcibly add it to your hand. You know, this card just, you know, shuffles your deck, which is better than, in my opinion, getting an extra trigger for no reason. I mean, yes, you know, having a 10k body is not bad as a rearguard, but, you know, you'd much rather, I'd much rather keep the trigger in my deck. But, you know, that might be me. 4+3 trash. Vortimer is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's viable. You know, every single time you ride, you get to plus. You get to, you know, and even if you don't, again, you get to pull it out from the soul as a rearguard to use as a cost for your Spectral Duke and stuff. So definitely a lot of synergy. Is it as good as Full Bow and Shadow Paladin? I don't think so, but I am biased for PBD. But as a card itself and a ride chain, it's still pretty solid. And since it's dual clan, it does have more utility than others. Wingle Liberator, great card. Where is it? You're gonna play it for Liberator for a while, but is Liberator that good? I don't know. I haven't played JP, but from what I've been seeing, it's not that amazing. When it boosted hits, put it still add a Bluster Blade Liberator in your from your deck to your hand. You know, Bluster Blade Liberator is pretty good because it is an on-demand retire. But you know, I mean, you only have this card as a main choice for Liberator, so I guess you have to play it. But you know, I'd still go with the Spring Breeze. What's it called? Damn, Spring Breeze Messenger. Yes. All right, moving on. We have Flower Gardener, put into Soul, draw 1, discard 1. And then we have Holy Square any day, you know, Limit Break 4. And then we have Aiming for the Stars, Artemis, you know, pretty good ride chain. Tamayori Hime, great card for Genesis especially. Karamasu to Soul Charge 3, it's a bit of a steep cost, but most of your units don't really use Karamasu in my, if I remember correctly, and Soul Charge 3 is pretty big, so viable. Spectral Sheep, put it Soul, draw 1, discard 1, bad. Cluster Hamster, bad. Vivid Rabbit, Great Researcher, bad. Enigman Flow, pretty bad. Like, you know, it does have a ride chain. Enigman Enigman Storm still has, you know, a place in the crit pressure definition, but it, you know, you have so many better options that I don't know, man. Warrior of Destiny Die, Great Researcher, trash. Worker Pod Saturday, no. Goyusha, really good. You know, it helps you Superior Ride, and it lets you draw 2 cards, so you don't minus as much. And, you know, it builds up the soul that you need to get to the Great Dayusha requirement. So definitely strong. Zeal, viable. Zeal is pretty fun, but is it that meta defining? No, but you do need it for the Zeal name. Vermilion Gatekeeper, pretty bad, but you still get, you know, 2 souls by playing this card, so not bad. Devil in the Shadow, viable, because you have Chariots, which is pretty good Great Research target. Edel Rose, which is a pretty good Great Research target, and then you have Reiji and your boss units like Amon. You know, and like, you know, you do need the Reiji to use DI at the moment. You know, if you're playing any other bosses, then I don't you know, I hope you're having fun, because I don't even know how you're gonna win with them. But you do need the Devil in the Shadow to make it more consistent, and definitely one of the better options right now. Create your hand, kind of +1, put this into your soul, choose a grade 2 or less from your deck into your soul. I'd say it's pretty bad, not viable at the moment, because again, it doesn't help you get into the Reiji. You don't need specific soul charging in your Dark Regular deck. Yes, cards like, you know, Dimension Creeper, it's good, but you have other ways of soul charging and you don't really need it. I'd much rather have, you know, something like this, where you check top 10, and then you put one into soul. But, you know, I guess, you know, DIs are kind of, or, you know, they're not that nice to DI. Bermuda Triangle Cadet Whittle, put into soul, bounce 1. Bouncing is I see it as a cost, so it's pretty bad. But 5k booster, you know, better than most. Rivier, Ride Chain, I guess. But at this point, Rivier is pretty bad. So yeah, I guess it's a rank reward, so I guess it's more free to play friendly. But, you know, don't play it. Shizuku, Grace Researcher, bad. Angelic Star Coral, viable, and you do need it. It's the most consistent check top 7 Ride Chain at the moment, because it does have a card that patches your Ride Chain just in case you read the grade 2, read the wrong grade 2. But, you know, and even if not, it's a 5k booster, so definitely still not bad. Better than Rivier. Officer Cadet Eric, pretty bad, because, you know, at the moment with Echo Force, if you don't get Maelstrom or Glory Maelstrom, then you're a sitting duck. And then cards like Diamantes and cards that let you enable your multi-attacks are still, you know, high utility, so you definitely still want to look for them. Not that bad, but still, you need the consistency so you can still consider playing it. Aqua Breath Dragon Kid, viable. You know, if put into soul, give a unit +1, and then if it hits a Vanguard, if it's the 4th battle or more, draw 1 card. It's easier to proc that hit requirement in this game, and trading 1 card for 1 is not bad. Even if you don't use it early game, you can still use it as a 5k to just, like, it, you know, it might not hit anything, but it does let you hit your 4th attack requirement, so definitely still viable. Trial Draco Kid, it's a 5k. On 3rd battle or more, it gets +3. It's an AK attacker. Does that hit a lot of things? Not necessarily, but I guess it has, you know, it has some utility. I'm kind of very close to VP farming tier, but I guess you can play test it. I haven't tested it, so I can't really say too definitively. Officer Cadet Astrea, Karamas1, put this into your soul stand. Oh, when this unit boosts hits Vanguard, Karamas1, put this into your soul stand, one of your rearguards. This is probably pretty bad, because, you know, it's already hard to ensure that another column can hit after one column hit the Vanguard already, because if your opponent hits the trigger, then it's over. Counterblast 1 as well, not the cheapest, and 4k booster doesn't really make a difference in terms of numbers, so I guess it can help you boost to hit the first hit to your opponent's Vanguard, but, you know, the Aqua Force doesn't really need that multi-attack through restanding. It just needs the waves to get your Vanguard to do something to end the game. Sunny Smile Angel, still viable to really good. You know, again, recycling a heal trigger back to the deck is really good. Get an extra draw, and we all know how annoying Sunny Smile Angel is, because even if it hits the damage zone, you can still trade it back into your hand and then boost it, and it goes back to the deck, and then you have to hope that your opponent doesn't hit that Sunny Smile Angel into the damage zone again. Hope Child Turiel, put into soul to trade 1 for 1 from your hand to the damage zone. Pretty good, viable. Thermometer Angel, Great Researcher tier. Merkle Feather Nurse, it helps you search the Ergodiel. Ergodiel doesn't really do much in the future, but still a right chain, so and it does its job. Last one, Crimson Heart Nahas, it is the Easel Superior Ride thing, to help you get Metatron. Metatron isn't that great of a card, but you get to speed into it, so there's that. Personally, I would still recommend the Sunny Smile Angel. I think it's the best card. It has much more utility in Angel Feathers than in OTT, you know, because you can trade it from the damage zone into your hand and use it again to get an extra draw. So there it is. Wow, this is long. I didn't really explain myself really clearly, and thinking about it right now, I do think that tier B could be split into like B1, B2, but generally speaking, I am pretty content with what we have here. As you can see, most of tier D VP farming tier are the grade 3 searchers, the Manillas, or ride chains that are irrelevant, cards that support cards that are irrelevant that you can't even play anyways. And then C tier are cards that do well, good enough to warrant being in a deck, but unfortunately they just have better alternatives that you would want to play. For example, Gallon Claw Dragon is pretty good as a removal option, but you have cards like Congo to replace it. And if you do value the removal, then you might as well play Saishin and Arakami. And then on the B tier, these are the cards that the units that you generally see in game. You see these, Battle Risers, all these units, often if you are playing ladder, some do fade away from relevance, but generally speaking, it's only because there are better alternatives, or their archetype is not supported as much anymore. But still, generally you will see cards from B tier and above, and then A, really good. These cards just supplement their deck so much. And they definitely do need the starters to do well. And then S tier is universally insane. It's the reason why cards like these are not, viable. It's because these cards are just so good. And if you disagree with this S tier and you think they're A tier, then we might be playing a different game. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this almost 42 minute video. Yeah, I mean, this is all the starting Vanguards up to set 9, I believe, or according to the Vanguard Zero metabase. Do check that website out, because it does list out cards that are not at global yet, so you can check out what cards that your clan, or the clan that you're interested in, will have in the near future. What else? If you did enjoy this video, do click the like button. If you haven't subscribed, do click the subscribe button. If you disagree, click the dislike button and then tell me why you disagree. And even if if you have any comments, do let me know. Do you enjoy these kind of long videos? I take them all at, it's one take, so I do fumble with some words often, and I do need to scroll through some skills because there are like 100 cards here. So I hope you don't mind if I look into my phone sometimes. But anyways, let me know, what is your favorite starting Vanguard? If you could play one starting Vanguard in any single clan, what would it be? For me, it would definitely be Conroe, because I do really like the idea of having a PG in my hand. It makes me safe. And then with the PG update, you can play a mix of the different PGs. Which will be interesting. I think will be interesting because Kaihiro and Spike Brothers just got their new support. I don't know if they got a new PG or not, but that will be interesting. And then it's just more flexible and offensive options as well. But let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.